Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about how Sumail just went 21-0 against the Lions in his first match of the International. I hope you guys are excited about TI just as much as I am. It's been an absolute blast to watch the first set of games. Unfortunately for me, I don't know if you guys are having the same problem, but for me, the games literally start at 3 a.m., which kind of sucks, but it's TI, so I'm trying to watch all the highlights, as many games as I can. And yeah, today let's talk about how Sumail just went 21-0 on a hero that apparently is doing quite well. By the way guys, if you want to become absolutely broken, well, what you need to do is sign up to the GameLeap website down below right now. The reason why you should do that is because every single day we post a new video there. Content that you simply just will never get on YouTube, we post every single day to the website. It's really top tier stuff. I'm very proud of what I make over there. We also have other creators, many of my great friends who are top tier Dota players, creating guides about different heroes, different roles, different items, skill builds, talent builds, everything you need to know to get to the next rank. So if you feel a little bit lost, you're a little bit stuck, click the link down below. I'll see you guys there. And now let's get into the video. So before I get into the item build and gameplay and even skill build of Sumail's CLINKZ that goes 21-0, I do want to mention that the biggest part of CLINKZ that we're going to be seeing in this video is actually ancient stacks and stacks in general. And so in your pubs, what I really recommend you do is one of two things. Number one is either play with friends and ask them to stack for you, or number two, if you do expect to have stacks or want stacks, it's actually your job to tell your supports to do it. You should not expect them to do it. Basically, when you're trying to gain a MMR, it's not that you have to say everything that you want to have happen, but if it's something like stacks that doesn't happen every single game or isn't expected every single game, then you really need to say something. Because Soxa spends an extreme amount of time stacking ancients for Sumail this game. So the first thing I want to talk about on Sumail's CLINKZ is his item build. He's going to go Maelstrom here, and this is for flash farming. Funny enough, the Maelstrom actually allows you to kill ancients now, and I think a lot of people forget the fact that ancients don't have magic resist like they used to. Old ancients basically could not be killed by spells. They were solely killed by physical damage. That has completely changed, and so Maelstrom is actually a hard item timing for any carry hero to actually go and kill ancients. And this actually applies to a few carries. It applies to Jug, it applies to Troll, and it most certainly applies to CLINKZ. And so on that note, he actually completely doesn't go boots. Now I do want to mention one of two things when you're picking CLINKZ. Number one, I generally recommend picking CLINKZ in games where you know you're going to have a semi-easy lane. Now Quap as a position 4 isn't too good at pressuring, and that's what he's against. And Shaker also doesn't have a great way of pressuring CLINKZ, right? And therefore, he knew he was going to have a pretty good lane. The other option is to have an Elder Titan or an Undying in lane, some sort of hardcore lane-dominating, damage-soaking hero that can secure you a good start, because CLINKZ is simply bad early on. He's just not that good. He's only good if there's someone protecting him. What he's also really good at is clearing stacks, as I just mentioned. Take a look at this clip here. This is what is so impressive about this hero. A full quad stack evaporates. It literally just instantly disappears. And ancients aren't that much different because of how Maelstrom works in the queue. It just completely pierces through. It's basically like TA's Psyblades. The ancients practically instantly die. And yeah, this is why this hero is good. And frankly, I don't think you want to pick CLINKZ and try to lane dominate. I don't think you want to pick CLINKZ and try to kick people out of the lane 24/7. Can you do it with Treads and a Falcon Blade? It's an option, but it's not nearly as good as having 81 last hits at the 10-minute mark and looking at the net worth being even higher than Alina. The next thing I want to mention about CLINKZ is the general area you're going to be farming. Now, obviously, we just talked about taking ancient stacks, and that's pretty standard. However, I do want to mention that in general, you have to be playing this hero like a Sven or a Medusa. The reason why I really want to stress this is because a lot of people are going to look at CLINKZ right now, and they're going to try to play him how he used to be played, right? People just don't adjust or haven't adjusted. Old CLINKZ was played in a way where you would buy Orchid, you would buy Deso, you wouldn't buy a farming item, right? You'd buy a fighting item, you'd run around, and you'd go for kills. And people are like, oh, but I still have Skeleton Walk, so I can still do that. Not really. Not really. You used to have Strafe, right? You used to have an ability that gave you the ability to kill people early on. Death Pact was also a little bit different and a little bit more strong when it came to killing people. And as a result, this hero simply is not in a place to just fight constantly early on. Instead, what you want to do is build up a stupid net worth advantage and specifically hit a Dragonlance plus Maelstrom timing before showing up to any major fights. In fact, if you notice, Sumail has literally only 1 kill this game. Guys, like, he has 1 kill, and it was on an Undying who dove his mid-tier 2. Mid-tier 2. Right, that was the only kill. Other than that, he's literally running through his jungle, using the Q to push in multiple camps at the same time, and then waiting for the enemy team to show. Notice how they show on the top side of the map here, right? Mid to top. What do you think Sumail's going to do? He's going to shift back, down, through to the Ancients. He finds a regen rune. Definitely going to consider fighting at this point in the game if they were to dive in mid tier 1. But other than that, back to the Ancients. Over and over and over again. For all the carry players out there, guys, you're watching this, you're probably like, a lot of people are like, oh my god, he's AFK. A lot of support players, if they were playing with Sumail in this game and didn't know it was Sumail, would be telling him that he's AFK, right? Because they would be dying, right? They'd be feeding. They wouldn't understand that CLINKZ's timing is simply later on into the game, right? That he's one of the fastest farmers in Dota, and they throw. And that's why I love OG's draft so much here. Legion doesn't take up that much space. AA doesn't take up space. Tide can, but he doesn't have to play like that, and he's clearly not this game, especially after a tough laning. Rubik can as well, he can take up space, but even he is leaving most of the map to Sumail here, and so they're enabling this hero to come online. Now let's get into some team fighting. The major gist of CLINKZ in the early game is that you're still a relatively squishy, easy to kill hero. If you get dusted, you're slowed when you're invis, and so this hero needs to play on the outside. That's largely why you buy the D-Lance. It gives you some tankiness. But more importantly is the fact that it just lets you stay far away from the fight, really. It just lets you stay far away. And so as he goes in here, he's trying to scout out the sentries. He waits for the fight to start. You are not initiating. Once again, you are not the old Orchid CLINKZ. Do not play like that. Wait for fights to break out. You're going to be farming your tri-camp, nearby waves, and a couple of neutrals until something like this happens. Then, using your skeleton walk, you can shift over, get a kill with the Q, and then you generally want to kite out. Why would he want to kite out here? Because there's basically no one in front of him, right? This tide is not protecting him. CLINKZ needs a barrier. He needs a barrier. That is why when you see teams picking CLINKZ, they're going to have legions, they're going to have tides, they're going to have avenge with ags. They're going to have people who can stand in front and give vision. If you were the one in front, unless you are a stupid amount of net worth ahead or you have BKB active, you need to be kiting out, especially for your next Q. Your Q is your major timing, and you largely want to play around it, so that's what they do. They kind of kite out. Okay, Topson gets jumped, so he tries to help him. Kiting out, kiting out, kiting out. After every auto attack, he's moving back, kites for the Q, gets a double kill, and resets once again. So that was a beautifully played fight by Sumail. Even though his team kind of fed there, he manages to keep himself alive and make sure that his net worth lead continues to snowball. By the way, I also want to briefly mention why I like this game as a CLINKZ game as well, and something you guys can consider when drafting your carry in your pubs. And that is the fact that, in this match in particular, CLINKZ is one of the best Scotty buyers in Dota, and that's super valuable here. When the enemy team has 3 potentially ranged cores, to be fair, the Shaker ended up being the offlaner, not the Quap, but potentially 3 ranged cores, Scotty is particularly effective. If you don't know why, I'll quickly show you the Scotty description. Basically, this item doubles, literally doubles on ranged heroes. So it's a 25% movement speed and attack speed slow on melee heroes, and it's 50% movement speed and 50 attack speed on ranged heroes. It also is really good against Morphling for the HP regen reduction and Lena's eventual Satanic that mid Lenas are typically buying right now. So it's honestly a great CLINKZ game in that regard. They don't have that great of backline jump either until the Morphling has Ags. Even then, and when that timing comes online, when the Morphling gets his Ags, you should hopefully have BKB and eventually a Scotty. Next thing I want to mention is that the farming never ends. Funny enough, he gets his BKB timing, and you guys should know that often in my videos I stress to you guys that when you hit your timings, you want to make plays around them. And that's true. However, in this game specifically here, they don't have AA Blast, they don't have Tide Ravage, and so they wanted to slow down the pace of the game. The enemy team had every single one of their ultimates, and his team simply did not. So instead of forcing things with this BKB, Sumail, and obviously OG as a whole, has the awareness to know that his team does not have timings. In order to get to the next level, at like especially a TI level, you have to have awareness not only for your own hero, you can't only know what your own hero is going to do, you have to know what everyone's hero needs to do. Right? You need to know what everyone's timings are. And obviously, skills, abilities are a major timing as well. So he literally is just hitting his safe tri-camp. This might seem really questionable. It's like, oh my god, OG is so far ahead. We have BKB, we need to put map pressure. Like, this is like everyone's thinking. Guys, if you've been watching TI, you know for a fact that your average pub is always taking fights like way too often in shitty areas. Like just in areas in the map with no vision, with spells down, with bad resources, like low mana, low HP. Just slow down the pace of the game, guys. And you might be like, oh, but my team's gonna go and fight anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just let them die. Just let them die. Especially if you're a CLINKZ, a carry hero that scales. This is why these scaling wave pushing heroes, in my opinion, they're the easiest playing solo queue if you get the concept. Just let your team die and play around the timings, right? Then when you get something like Aegis BKB, then you should definitely look to play with your tide. In fact, you can see Sumail is pinging the high ground here, telling his team that he wants to go. He even is leading up the high ground as a CLINKZ, but this is obviously a wildly different timing than what we've seen before. He also spends a little bit of time pushing in waves as well as popping a clarity. So I just love what he's doing here with his timings and his understanding of the timings to change his gameplay. Next, let's take a quick look at one of Sumail's major team fights of this game where he gets an instant triple kill. So the main thing to note about this engagement here is basically his positioning. You're a Medusa, right? You're a turret. This hero, once again, used to be pickoff. It's now just a turret. And what that means is you generally just hit the closest unit. And the reason why you do this in Dota is if you hit the closest unit, it protects your supports, prevents them from getting jumped by something like a Morphling with Shaker Ags, right? And it just lets your teammates basically finish off kills quickly. The biggest one is the positioning, though, by a long shot. It basically keeps your team in position. If he was to chase to here, for instance, it all of a sudden gives the Lina an opportunity to sideswipe to flank his backline. And that's what she kind of wants. She doesn't want to try to hit some 3,000 HP CLINKZ. And you can notice he's hitting Morphling here. He knows he isn't going to immediately kill the Morphling. Of course he knows that. He knows, right? But it doesn't matter. He hits him anyway, because if he doesn't, Morphling's just going to kill his AA. He's just going to kill the Rubik, right? Whoever he goes on. And so he protects him. Right? He stays with his team. Doesn't end up getting jumped here, but obviously doesn't really turn into anything. Once again, turning around, protecting No Tail, just continuously making sure that his supports cannot die and not overextending. And that's a beautiful triple kill. And you can see the mechanical skill of this hero, the skill of this hero is not necessarily within your teamfight execution, even though, yes, you need to make sure that you're playing around vision, right? In that fight in particular, Seb got the jump, or Seb got jumped, so he can easily stay in position and not get bursted, which is key. But the main advantage of this hero is the farming, right? The efficiency. He got so far ahead that now these fights look easy, but it's really the farming from beforehand, and you combine that with good fight selection, right? He has yet to get caught out. He has yet to be the one to go in first, unless he had the Aegis, but I didn't even bother showing you guys that. And yeah, that's going to be about like the end of the smash. Even though he ends up getting another 9 kills, the game plan becomes very simple. A slow siege with 3,500 HP is pretty easy. And once again, every team fight's about the same. It's practically just stay, wait for a fight to break out, right? Do not get caught in front, and yeah, clean up the fights. And I know it sounds simple. It's easier said than done. But the reality is the Scotty timing against this Lina and against this Morphling makes their games relatively unplayable. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching as we watch this last fight where he absolutely annihilates Alliance. Yeah, it was just, I mean, so simple. Once again, hitting the first person he sees. The only thing I do want to mention as a bit of a side note, you might be asking like, Speed, what do I do if I have multiple targets? Well, then of course you want to prioritize generally the easier to kill target. The only time you would want to kill someone tankier is if it's like literally 100% of their damage. Maybe they have some like Pango who just got off a shield crash, but he's like the highest in net worth and he's, 15-0, then of course you should try to prioritize them, especially if you can burst them. And in this fight, you'll see, fight breaks out, he's just sieging once again, staying far back, sieging, using his 4k HP advantage, sees the Shaker, hits the Lina, doesn't want to chase too far, Ravage comes out, and immediately you can notice he goes away from the Lina that he was instantly targeting to someone he can guarantee the kill on, right? And that is a key thing. Super good awareness here. To shift to the Shaker, get the free kill, then sees the duel come out onto the Lina, beautifully done by Seb, and yeah, he just hits this and dying. And obviously the reason why he would hit the Lina there is because she is the highest DPS hero on their team besides Morphling. Morphling was not in range, and it keeps him in position. So a beautifully played fight by Sumail. He eventually ends up cleaning up everyone here on Alliance, even though OG ends up feeding a little bit. They do end up cleaning up the fight nonetheless. And so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot wait to make more TI videos. I'm going to make a tier list on the current heroes that are being picked at TI based on their win rates. I'm excited to do that. Hope you guys will tune in and check that video out. That probably is going to come out later today. So yeah, I'm just going to talk about what's winning, what's not, and I'm excited to do that. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I'm out. Peace. And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.